The next thing we're going to want to do in coordinate geometry is to work with circles. Now, in order to talk about how to describe circles mathematically, the first thing we need to do is say, what even is a circle anyway? And that's kind of hard because we know what a circle is. And defining it precisely feels a little bit weird at first. But here's how we define a circle. Given a point in the plane and a real number, we say the circle of that real number radius, centered at that point, is just the set of all points, so that the distance from the center to a point on the circle is the radius. So here we have a segment that's r units long. It goes from a center to a point on the circle, and we could pick any other point on the circle, and the segment connecting that point to O would also be r units long. They're all the same length. We use terminology in a slightly confusing way here. The number r is called the radius of the circle. So if r equals 3, we say the radius is 3. A segment running from the center to a point on the circle is called a radius. So a radius is a segment. The radius is the number that is the length of each radius, which is really weird. In context, just look for, are you trying to talk about a number or are you trying to talk about a line segment? Okay, how do we put this into coordinate geometry? We start by calling the center. We'll call its coordinates h and k. We're writing an equation for a graph in the plane, so we call each point on the circle xy. Then the distance from the center to the point is the square root of the difference in the x's, so x minus h squared, plus the difference in the y's, so y minus k squared. Take the square root of the whole thing. So our basic equation is just that distance equals r. But square roots are hard to work with, right? When we have radicals in an equation, we have to do a bunch of messing around to get rid of them. So instead of working with that equation with a square root in it, we square both sides. And when we do that, the square and the square root cancel out. So we have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. And that's equal not to the radius, but to the radius squared. That's called the center radius form of the equation of a circle, because we can look at that and see. If we see this equation, we can see that the center is the point hk, and the radius is the square root of whatever number we see there. So this is called the center radius form of the equation of the circle, and it's the one that we're going to use the most often. In the next video, we'll start to work with that equation.